Sandy Porter-Gonyea, and I am a certified feline master groomer from upstate New York in the beautiful Finger Lakes area. I am the director instructor of the New York Academy of Pet Styling, which is a New York state licensed school that teaches dog grooming. My side gig is the Cat Spa, my business where I continue my love of cat grooming and I keep my skills up. This is Esther. She is a 4-year-old tortoiseshell Persian. She is actually a little overgrown and is in need of a face trim. And you can see how fuzzy her face is. And she's matted around her neck. And she's got extensive matting on her in her armpits and her chest and on her belly. So the end goal with Esther is a comb clip. And before I do that, I need to do a rough clip of the Sanitary and belly shave, and then bathe her and dry her, and then I will do the comb clip. Right now, I'm clipping toenails, which is the first thing I do on any cat I groom. As Danelle says, removing the 18 weapons of mass destruction. Always start my grooms with this, and it's also a good barometer how the cat's going to behave for you for other things. I classify Esther as a shy, compliant cat. She really doesn't give me much of a problem, except she wants to hide her head and curl into a little ball all the time, which sometimes makes it challenging to groom her by myself because I can't. It's hard to get to some areas when she's curled in a little ball. So once I'm done with the nail clipping, I go with the Persians and the Himalayans and the exotics, I will do face trims on them. These breed standards call for roundness in their heads, in their head shape, and they're around their eyes, and it's all about roundness. And when they have this scruffy hair growing out on the sides of their face, it makes them look like little werewolves, and it detracts from that overall appearance and round shape. So to get the head round again, and we just simply pluck those little fuzzy hairs that are sticking out all over the place. But I'm very intentional about the shape that I'm looking for. I'm starting at her chin and then in a smile shape, like if she was smiling, I pluck the hair out up until in front of her ear. I use my little Chris Christensen's face and feet comb to help me pull out some of that extra hair, and then I'll go in with my fingers. I just showed you with my finger that line I'm looking for and following. I've only done a little bit so far, and I've already seen a difference. So I'm holding her little head like a baseball and plucking out the other side. Now, I wouldn't be doing this on an aggressive cat. If that cat was going to bite me, I would not be doing this. And this is not something that's done on every breed. Like I said before, it's usually done on Persians, Himalayans, and exotics. Sometimes ragdolls, ragamuffins, they might need a little bit over the eyes, but mostly on the breeds I mentioned. And it makes such a difference doing a face trim. It's something that a lot of cat groomers don't know how to do, and they don't even know that it's a thing. And when you're able to do a good face trim on these cats, and you present this cat back to the owner and they look at the cat and they has a beautiful open expression with a cute round shape to their head, and it's very natural looking. They don't know exactly what you did, but they love what you did. So right now I am plucking out the little hairs at the base of her ears because they get almost like little horns growing out the base of the ears, which again detracts from the roundness of their head. So I comb through that and just do a little plucking to emphasize the shape. Yeah, when you make a customer happy and they see you doing something different than your competition is doing, they tend to be really, they'll come back, they'll rebook, they'll tell your friends about you. They don't know exactly what you did, but face trim makes all the difference in the world on these breeds of cats. This could be a work in progress too. Like I might go back and pluck at it a little bit more, but you can see how round and how much just pulling out some of that hair has cleaned up her face and how much better it looks. So again, thinking roundness, they get little hair tufts at the tips of their ears. They need to have their standard calls for them to have very small ears. And if they have excess hair coming off the end of their ears, it detracts from the roundness. So I hold my fingers right at the edges of her ears and I use my little 4-inch blunt tip scissors to clip that hair off. Now, holding my fingers where I do, I'll clip my fingers before I clip the kitty's ears. And it's just a little bit, but it does make all the difference in the world. And those are the only scissors I use on cats. It's just my little inexpensive 4-inch blunt tip scissors I think I got from Ryan's Pet Supply. So now they also get overgrown hair over their eyes. And you want a nice open expression. And by taking off those little hairs, it opens up their expression and gives them a more open, pleasant expression instead of looking angry because the hair is weighing down their eyes. So I hold their little whiskers out of the way. My thumb is holding out of the way, and I'm going from the corner of the eye to the center, clipping off the hair right over the eyes. So I did one side. Now I'm going to go do the opposite side. Of course, she won't open her eyes to show you, but so I comb it down, find the whiskers, hold the whiskers out of the way so I don't cut them off. And then I'm going from the outside in to the center of her face. And then I connect the dots between the middle. I comb it down and smooth off the hair and round it up into the forehead. You could go more up into the top of their head if they needed. I don't necessarily need to do that with her. I'm going to run the comb through, take a look at it, see if I need to do any more. Double check, comb my scissors, or double check my scissoring. Trim a little bit more off there. And there's my kitty with her face trim. So from the face trim, I go to the sanitary. I always start when I put clippers on a kitty in this area because if they're going to react badly, I'd rather it be when I'm trying to do somewhere that the owner can't see very well if the cat decides he's not going to tolerate clipping. I'd rather do this and know if the cat's going to tolerate the feel of clippers on its body versus putting a line down the middle of its back and not be able to finish it. So here I'm using my little Artero Spectra clippers with a 10 blade, and I am cleaning out around the anus, and I go with the grain and then I go against the grain and cleaning out all around her genitals and getting it nice and clean and tidy back there. She doesn't seem to mind this at all. Very compliant. Good girl. All clean. All right. So the next step is doing the groin area. And with this kitty, I'm going to roll her on her side. And I'm tucking her front half of her body and her head in between my arm and my body to hold her snug. Because again, I told you she likes to curl up like a shrimp. And I was a mobile groomer for a while. So I have learned to groom cats by myself because I don't have an assistant to help me hold them. So the National Cat Groomers Institute has helped me a lot with some chops how to get this done and get it done safely. So here you see me going with the grain up to a point, and then I get her to hold her leg open. I'm going to do the other side now. I'm going to go with the grain up to a point, just around their knee joint. And then I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to go back the opposite way against the grain. You'll notice me give a little bit of a shake every now and then. That just sometimes just helps relax their muscles. So with this kitty, I'm deciding that it's going to be easier if I do it in my lap. And this is the thing with cat grooming. Every cat's an individual. You can't necessarily depend on doing the same thing every time. And you have this bunch of skills that one thing doesn't work, you go try another thing. And this happens to work for her. I put her in my lap, I stuck her tail between my leg, and her head and her upper body is tucked between my body and my arm. She's a shy kitty, remember, so she's got her head hidden. And as long as she feels secure and not being hurt, she will be very compliant. So this is a rough clip. Get this roughed out in the groin area, and I will touch it up in the end after she's finished, but she's letting me get in there, getting some of that matting out that's in her hip area and her belly. When I went to National Cat Groomers, my PPI, lap grooming was a game changer for me. I have always groomed on the table, and I just wasn't comfortable grooming in my lap. And when I went for my PPI in North Carolina with Gracie Owens, she worked with me on this, and it has really made a lot of difference. Now, I still do a lot on the table as well, but I know how to do the lap grooming, and I'm becoming more and more comfortable with it. And it helps me a lot when I'm grooming by myself. I received my certificate in 2019, and I traveled to North Carolina for 5 days of PPI. And I've been a groomer this year, 51 years. So I wasn't so sure I needed it. Do I really need somebody to show me how to do this? And I can do this. Let me tell you, I needed that instruction. I needed that hands-on, this is how you do it, and actually them guiding me through the steps. And I recommend anybody that's thinking about doing it, that wants to obtain their CFMG, to have some personalized instruction to help you through, because the exams are not easy. They're very tough. There's very specific lines that you have to follow, and they're looking for certain things, and just being sloppy about it isn't going to cut it. That's for darn sure. So now she's very matted in her armpits, and this always makes me sweat because it's hard to get into, and I have to get her skin stretched. I have the lower half of her body in between my legs, and I'm able to stretch her out and get that area flat. And I'm right now looking for a spot to get in there, and then just picking at it to loosen up those mats. You don't want to have any wrinkles in their skin. If there's a wrinkle and you go over it, you're going to cut them. She was also a mommy kitty, so I have to worry about nipples. And it's hard when they're really matted like this. But she's going to feel so much better when I get these mats out of her armpits. She's being so good. So I'm just picking away at it, going with the grain, going against the grain, just cleaning it all out. Now, I used to have a mobile business that I started in 2013, and I started out being small dogs and cats, and I decided somewhere along the line that I really enjoyed doing these cats. I made more money doing the cats. It was less wear and tear on my body. I could work fewer hours and fewer days per week, but make more money. It wasn't costing me as much in supplies. It just made sense to me. And more than anything is that I really love the cats. I've been a cat owner all my life, and I just enjoy working with them. And I just decided one day that I was going to get my certification, and that I was going to take my mobile business Feline exclusive. At that time, I lived in Albany, New York, and there was nothing like that. No one has ever done that. And I had a lot of people telling me, oh, that isn't going to work. There's not enough business. The things you normally hear, cats groom themselves. You can't bathe a cat. No one's going to pay you to do that. And I proved them all wrong, that's for sure. So it took me actually 2 years to get my certification. I took my time. I traveled to South Carolina twice, and I was a single mom, and I had a full-time business. So I did it when I can. And that's a good thing about the syllabus. You don't have to like do it all at once. You can do it a little bit at a time. But I did eventually get my certification, and I'm very proud of that. That's one of my big accomplishments in my life. And I can't believe the confidence, even as a veteran groomer, that I have gotten from getting my certification. So you saw I had her armpits cleaned out. So now I'm going to complete the belly shave, and I'm going to connect from where I shaved the armpits down to where I shaved the groin area earlier. And I am back on the table with her. So while you watch me do that, I am going to finish telling you about my journey. That once I got my certification, I rebranded my mobile business to Feline Exclusive, changed my website, got a new logo, and everything I did was cat. You didn't see any more dog photos. I didn't talk about dogs. I didn't write about dogs. Everything was focused on cats. And I built my business on Facebook, and so it just took off from there in word of mouth. And as I would get a new cat, I would drop a dog. And eventually it got to the point where I still kept a few dogs, not a favorite dogs on my schedule, but I was doing mostly cats, and they were rebooking because they knew that there weren't many cat groomers around. I was the only mobile in the area, and if they got off my schedule, that they might not be able to get back in. So I really enjoyed that portion of my career. It came to the point where I was offered this teaching job, and I thought long and hard about it. But ultimately, I decided that I would take the position because I enjoy teaching. And I ended up selling my mobile business. I actually sold it, and this is not a joke, in one day. I wasn't ready for it to be happen that quickly. There's such a demand out there, and then when this ready-made business it was turnkey, was made available, somebody jumped at it, and she is still running that mobile business today as Feline Exclusive and doing very well with it. So I am here in Victor, New York, and we teach dog grooming here, and I'm enjoying it. I have lots of students that have come through and are doing well, and I get to play with my kitties on the side. Okay, so we're in the middle of the belly shave. I find for me, the belly shave is one of the most difficult things. She was considerably matted, so I'm tucking her head under my arm and stretching her out. So back to I enjoy teaching, and we also do workshops here on all sorts of things. I do have a couple cat grooming workshops coming up in July and August that we do at the schools. I have done online business and cat grooming webinars. And I also love to do one-on-one mentoring. So I think teaching is what I was ultimately meant to do. What are you supposed to do with 50 some odd years of experience but to share it with everybody else? So that's where I am now. So I'm cleaning up the line here. I'm using the corner of the blade I was drawing a line with a pencil to make the line straight. Because You wouldn't send a dog home with all crooked lines and chopped up and looking like they had a battle with a weed whacker. So why would you send a kitty home looking like that? They deserve the same kind of care that the dogs get. When I decided to buy the syllabus, I had looked for years for a way to get that show cat look. I came from a show dog background, so I could get that with the dogs, but I couldn't get it with the cats. And when I was looking, there was not a lot of information out there. Back when I was in the heyday of my career, there wasn't a lot on the internet. There were very few books. You go to Hershey, which I went every year, there were no nothing, no workshops, nothing. And it wasn't until finally I went to one of Danelle's workshops at Hershey and I took the look at the cats she had there and went, ah, that's what I'm looking for. So it was through NCGI that I managed to accomplish my goal and get the show cat look on the cats I groom. And when I just didn't know how to do it before, and I do now. So she's had her bath, and I used Chubb's bars on her. I did 2 shampoos, one with Chubb's, worked it up in a nice creamy lather, and the second wash was with Chris Christensen's Clean Start. Those are usually my go-tos. And I am now doing face wash around her eyes with saline. When I cleaned her ears, I used rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol is a solvent. It breaks up that wax that kitties get in their ears. And as long as they don't have something going on, I find it works very well. I'm combing her out and I'm going to put a happy hoodie on her not because she's afraid of the dryer, but more so that it will wick some of the water away and her head will dry quicker because most cats don't like the air blowing in their face. I will also use the green e-collar for the same reason. It'll just keep the air from blowing in her face. And remember, I don't want to freak her out or anything. She's being compliant, but if I scare her or hurt her, that she might act out a little bit. So here she is in my beloved Caddyshack dryer. I love this thing. I don't want to groom a cat without it. I can groom a cat without it, but I'll tell you, this makes life a lot easier. And you can see all the hair that's flying around. It's not in my face. I'm using a comb, little shedding comb that I have it's a Paw Brothers comb that I think came from Ryan's Pet Supply or Groomer's Mall. And it has a handle on it, so it's easy for my hands to hang on to. And when I come across a tangle, clean hair on cats is so easy to demat. It just flicks out. It doesn't happen that way with dogs, but with cats, the clean hair just combs right out. As long as they're not bigger than like a quarter or a $half. Obviously those big huge mats aren't going to come out easy, but the clumps and tangles, they come out very easy on clean hair. So I'm blowing the air into her coat and then flicking the mats out. Now I'm going to take off the happy hoodie and attempt to get her head dry. So the excessive matting was up by her neck, and so it's a little bit more effort to get those out, but I didn't want to have to shave them out because I like the natural looking ruff around her neck. So here's Esther after she's completely dried. She had her comb clip. I used a 1 comb with a clipper vac, and I'm just giving her the final comb through, and she is almost ready to go. So I hope you learned something, and thank you for joining me, and happy cat grooming. Bye.